G'day, freedom lovers. How are we today? It's Friday. It's time for a sip. Sips. Merry ho 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 to you too, Shelley. How you going? So, tonight is going to be a very interesting one. I know a lot of people are always looking for solutions to the ultimate problem. How do we deal with this system we're in? And this might be just the solution you're looking for. Keith here has been working on this for quite some time in the background, and he's the founding member of the Commonwealth Custodians. We've heard Jackie refer to this on many occasions. He was just recently involved in the seminar that Jackie had running on last weekend, I believe it was. So without further ado, we may as well bring Keith in to explain what this is all about. G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Mark. How are you?
How are you, Keith? Yep, good, mate. Good. So, perhaps we should probably start from the beginning there. You sound like you got some sort of a virus thing just popped up.
Yeah, it just did for some reason. Yeah, well, from the beginning, really, I've been researching this. I woke up virtually 1998 when my daughter got fluorosis of the teeth. I started researching fluoride and everything behind it, and that led me down the rabbit hole and researching everything about it and all the other things that go with it, and then I started to see patterns in a lot of things, and I kept on researching, and I had a bond. I got it here actually. I had a bond, and this bond's on it's a trust bond. It's got a trust certificate.
Right, yeah.
And then I started studying trust law to understand about what all the trust is all about. It's this is the bond.
Okay.
And I wanted to see, I wanted to know about that, and so I started researching trust law, and that led to common law, to imperial law, to contract law, to international law, to Roman law, and I eventually started to put all the pieces together, and I saw that what people were doing seemed to be going round and round in circles. This is the solution, or this is it, and it wasn't working. And I thought, well, there must be a different way. And I concentrated on the biblical revelation, in Revelation 18:4, where it says, come out of her, my people. And I wanted to understand what her was and how to come out of it. And so I started researching all that, and that led me down the path I've been on. And in 2015, I had to go into court. I had to go into court to the federal court to be able to see my children. My wife at that time was trying to stop me from seeing my children, and I went into that court and got recognised by that court as the living man and the executor of my estate. This is the court documents that they sent me. They sent it with a with compliments.
Oh, right,
they sent it with a with compliment. If you see there, you'll see that it's Keith Charles Estate Harvey.
Yep.
So it's not the person. In that in those final orders, which are the orders, the reason for judgment, then on paragraph 7, it says, it is unusual to pronounce final orders without either the consent of each party or a trial, but this is an unusual matter with a very unusual history. The living man, Keith Charles, either in that capacity or in the capacity of the steward and executor of the estate of Harvey Keith Charles, has filed extensive documentation, blah, blah, blah. So I got recognised as being the living man and also the executor of my estate. And then from there, I went on and I found the Public Government's Performance and Accountability Act.
Right. So that's this one here.
Yeah. If you scroll down to section 11, yeah, I don't know if section 11, it's 2 Commonwealths.
I've gone too far.
No, keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, back. Yeah, I don't know if I'm catching up with you or not. Yeah, no, it's in chapter 1, number 11, section 11. Yeah, around there somewhere. Wait on.
It's chapter 3.
Oh, yeah, keep going back. Yes, you're up 60s. It's number 11.
Oh, yep. Way too far. All right, here we are. Type of Commonwealth entities.
Yeah. See, you'll see there it says the type of Commonwealth entities, and there's a corporate Commonwealth entity and a non-corporate Commonwealth entity. And then underneath that it says, note, the corporate Commonwealth entity is legally separate from the Commonwealth, meaning that it's foreign. Whereas the
non-corporate
Commonwealth is part of the Commonwealth. Right. So the corporate entity is legally separate. In other words, it's foreign to the Commonwealth, and the non-corporate Commonwealth is the Commonwealth. And then you'll see under that the accountable authority. Each of those has an accountable authority. So if it's legally separate from the Commonwealth, I figured out that, well, they can't sit in the Commonwealth. To sit in a Commonwealth office, you can't be a foreigner who can sit in a Commonwealth office. You have to have an oath of allegiance to the proper crown. And so I did a reversion of interest, which is virtually a collapsing of the trust. And I'd done it from that office, and I sent that to the Governor General, the Prime Minister at the time, which was Tony Abbott, the Governor of New South Wales, because I'm in New South Wales, the Treasurer and the Finance Minister, because they are the ones that are mentioned in this act. And this act is all about the Consolidated Revenue Fund and special accounts and resources of the Commonwealth, and also the Provost Marshal. Now, the Provost Marshal has been a part of the Royal Army since the 12th century. They are virtually the lawyers for the military, and this is all the receipts for who I sent them to.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I claimed that office, which is an actual Commonwealth office. And by doing that, they took all the records out on me. I told them in the correspondence to remove me from their records, which they did. My father had the same name. They are all gone. I've had lawyers come up to me and say, look, we've been looking for files on you, but we can't find any. Were you born in Australia? I used to be able to get onto things like Heritage and whatever and look up all the birth certificates of me and my family and whatever else. Now there's nothing on there whatsoever. The only thing that I could find was my father was on the electoral roll in 1956.
Right.
And so I occupied that office, and by occupying that office, I am in a Commonwealth office, and I've been in that office since 2015, and I've been writing from that office. I've been doing everything from that office since then. Nobody has ever refuted, rebutted, or came up with a higher claim that I'm not in that office. And so I've been in it for 10 years. And then as of course I'm in the Commonwealth, we needed officers of the Commonwealth. Excuse me. And so what I did is I created corporation sole officers. Because there is a corporate and a non-corporate Commonwealth, they must recognise both. And so I created these roles, which are under common law and an Act of Parliament, and they're not under Roman law. They're under English law, and corporation souls are not in the Corporations Act, and right. They are actual Commonwealth officers. And so the first ones I got was the Accountable Authority for the Non-Corporate Commonwealth Entity, which is the one that I took. Then I did Commonwealth Public Officials, which is an office of from the 1914's Crimes Act. And then I got Commonwealth Justice of the Peace, and then I claimed the office of the Accountable Authority for the Postmaster General for the Commonwealth of Australia. And then they said, we'll have to check to see whether or not you can have these officers, and if we need more information, we'll get back to you. 20 days passed, and they never contacted me and sent me out the paperwork for them. And so I've got these, plus we also have the Office of Record, the Commonwealth Office of Record for recording. And so we have a few other officers, Conservator of the King's Peace, and Commonwealth Notaries, and so forth. And these are all genuine Commonwealth officers. And they're there. And so it's now that we've established that there is the two Commonwealths, there's the corporate and the corporate and the non-corporate. And
it's plain as day right here, the two Commonwealth entities. And for anybody who wants to check these things, by all means, if you go to Telegram, you will find the links to everything that we're doing today is on the Telegram page. I've put them all there. So you can get access to this piece of legislation yourself. And if I scroll back up, so yeah, Public Governance, Performance and Accountability Act 2013. So that's the piece of legislation, and it is there in Telegram. If you haven't linked in, here's a link for you to scan and go over to Telegram, and you can get all that. There's more stuff that we're going to bring up because we had planned out a little bit of a course of action here, but while people are having a chance to sort of look through and go and get all the resources they're going to need for this, let's put what you've said into to simple terms for people to kind of wrap their heads around. So am I correct in assuming that you've basically created the non-corporate Commonwealth and are fundamentally running the show for the time being with you and your various other people who have come on board to help you out? Is that a correct assessment?
Well, what I did is I entered the office of the non-corporate Commonwealth, and so being in an office of the non-corporate Commonwealth is really it was the start of the re-establishment of the Commonwealth.
Right. So it's basically that entity, as we've seen in Section 11, has basically just been sitting there. Nobody's done anything with it in all the years since the corporate entity has sort of come to play.
Yeah, well, that act, it recognizes that there is another Commonwealth, that there is one. And it also recognizes that the Commonwealth is the principal and that they are the agents. And they're administrating the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth is the actual principal. The only thing is that there was nobody in the Commonwealth.
Everybody's residing in this
virtually got abandoned. Yeah, the Commonwealth virtually got abandoned when, in 1973, when Gough Whitlam created a virtually a counterfeit lookalike.
Yeah,
and then he offered everybody Medibank, and this corporate entity, which I'll go into a little bit later with that International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, this political society, which is what they created, when they offered everybody this contract, it was a contract, and that's the only thing that they can really do is contract people into their political society. And what they did is they offered everybody Medibank or Social Security, and when everybody went in and signed up, they entered into a private agreement with a private corporation and came out of the autonomous community known as the Commonwealth of Australia and into their political society. And while you're in their society, you have to obey the society's rules. Excuse me. And so it was virtually a switch, right? And then because everybody came out of the original Commonwealth and into this corporate under this corporate government, and it was done slowly. Nobody realized what was happening, and it eventually, over the generations and whatever, because it's been over 50 years, that people really forgot about the original Commonwealth and only grew up knowing this system. It's something like Plato's cave. You only know what you can see and whatever else, and but when how they did it, what this system, but you really got to know what this system is and how it works, and that's what I what I
Sorry,
concentrated on is finding out.
it sounded like you dropped out for just a second there. Sorry, that's all. It just came back in, and all good. Continue. So during that learning process, is this a good time to bring in your website and the resources for people to read, such as those PDFs that are available on the website?
We might just leave that. I might just
come to that later,
because that's what we're doing now.
Right.
I might just give a bit of an idea. Can you bring up that video? Julio symptom 1302.
Where'd they go?
Which is
not the piece of Westphalia, not that one.
No, I sent it to you in email. I don't know if you saw it or not.
That one.
Video symptom. Well, video symptom was virtually that the
QSV Act. I think you sent that through.
Yes, Stake AUS Act. That comes in a moment. Like the first Stake AUS Act.
Yep, I'm with you. Sorry.
Yep, 1302. Yeah. So 1302. 1302 was video symptom, and what that was the Pope claiming the world, that he was the trustee of the world. And then they went on after that, and they claimed the body, and they claimed the spirit, and whatever. That's the Triple Crown.
All right, and I believe Daryl's brought this up before as well.
Yeah, and this was the beginning of what people know as the Stake Trust, which people are trying to get their hands on or whatever. Yeah, in this corporate system. Now the Stake Trust Act 1666 is the English version of video symptom, and but the thing is that what people are trying to get their hands on is the corporate Stake Trust, whereas this is the English Stake Trust. And when you go in and you mix laws in their system, then you're destroying you're seen as being of two minds, because you're using the wrong law in the wrong system, and you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And so you can't go into the corporate system and use imperial law, which this is, or common law or the Constitution, because it's not what they run under. And
that's where a lot of people come undone, trying to take common law into the corporate system, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you're trying to mix the two systems, and the two systems just won't mix. So there's the corporate is, and then can you bring up the Westphalian one? In 1648, at the Peace of Westphalia, the Holy Roman Empire and was virtually at war with each other, and they had the Peace of Westphalia. At Munster, they had a peace meeting which lasted about 6 years. The only church allowed there was the Catholic Church. And this is where they came up with the concept of belligerent sovereign states. And these belligerent sovereign states are legal entities or corporations. And they were, instead of the organic nation, the original organic nation, which is made up of the people, these were legal entities. And these legal entities, under the law of nations, only a sovereign can declare war against another sovereign, and only can only treaty between another sovereign. And so that's under the law of nations, which is under natural law, whereas this isn't natural law because it's all legal fictions, it's all corporations. And what they did is they made that these legal entities, these sovereign states, could declare war between each other, but it was only between the ones who are who are the member states who agree to be in that member state. And this is where the corporate governments that we have around the world today have evolved from. And to be in the United Nations, you have to be one of these sovereign states, one of these belligerent sovereign states. It's not the organic nation that is actually in the UN. This was called the Westphalian system. And Tony Blair in 1999 at a conference in, I think it was Chicago, said that it's now the post-Westphalian system and we're now going into globalism.
Right.
So this system is, was created by the Holy Roman Empire and evolved to the corporate governments that we have around the world today. And
it's fascinating. Sorry to cut you off there, but I just want to point out the Holy Roman Empire. I've been saying for so long, like it just seemed a point of logic that the Roman Empire never died. It just changed its name. And there it is. It's gone from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah. They just crossed the road.
I know that my theory was correct, and I want to thank you for proving it to me. Cheers.
Yeah. They just crossed the road from the Senate to the Vatican. And a lot of people get mix up a lot of things, like they say, England's doing this. It's not England that is doing a lot of this. It's the City of London, the Vatican, the City of London, and Washington are virtually sovereign city states. Part of this empire thing. And that's where the law society, that's where the Masons are, that's where the
Templars.
And when people say that the British are doing it, it's not the British or the English, it's the City of London and the Vatican, and the Vatican is the spiritual arm, the City of London is the financial arm, and Washington is the military arm. And they are virtually the occupiers of the world under this belligerent occupation. When they made these sovereign states, they were all made as belligerents, and they made one non-belligerent state, which was Switzerland, as a neutral.
Yep.
So all these sovereign states are all hostile to each other. Sue versus Hill, where there was a English citizen and an Australian citizen, and she couldn't sit in Parliament. She got found that she couldn't sit in Parliament because the UK was a foreign force. Now, how can you have a foreign force when we both have the same sovereign?
Yeah, it's supposed to be under the Commonwealth.
Yeah, and so we can't be a foreign force against, or they can't be a foreign force. What is the foreign force is that the sovereign state, the UK, and Australia, the sovereign state, are foreign, and they're both belligerent to each other.
It's all making sense now.
Yeah,
it's like just all so many little pieces just clicked into fucking place there, man. That's awesome.
yeah.
So I was just trying to think where to go from there. I'll let you take the. You know this. So what next?
Yeah, well, now we know who they are, and how they operate is that they just change the name of everything and get you to believe that that is the original organic nation, whereas it's really one of these sovereign states. It's a facade, and they do it slowly over time, so nobody notices. They just get into they just change things. All the political parties that are registered into this corporate system are virtually just franchises of the UN and doing the UN bidding, and not the bidding of the people.
Yeah, and that's obvious by their actions.
Yeah, and you're never gonna, so they've created this political society. If you want to bring up the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights.
Yep, there it is. International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. As you can see, it's a United Nations 1967 document, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you can access this by going to Telegram, or you can ask me to email it to you at some stage if you're watching this later and Telegram's too hard for you. And you can see it's quite the old document. It's been hand typed and scanned in. So where do you want to go from here, mate?
If you scroll down to number 1.
Article 1, Part 1. All peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, they say, all people have the right of self-determination. Yay. And you think, oh, beauty. Well, it's got to be a great document. It's all saying that we're self-determining and whatever else. But then it goes on to say, by virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Right. So when the Commonwealth of Australia is not a political entity; it's a moral entity. It was created by the Constitution, and the Constitution is under natural law. It's under the law and nations, and it's a moral nation made up of the people, but what this is a political society, right? So by virtue of that right, freely determine their political society. It should be that they can go into a political society,
right?
And so people were given the freedom to choose between their organic nation, the Commonwealth of Australia, or be in a political society. And then you read number 2, and all people may, for their own end, freely dispose of their natural wealth. Well, you go into this political society and you're giving away the commonwealth of the people, the resources, without prejudice. Save the without prejudice for a moment, right? To any
obligations.
To read. It's a little bit small.
To any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law.
But
In no case may a people be deprived of its own means of subsistence. Sorry.
yeah. So just stay on two. Right. So the people are free to dispose of their natural wealth and give it over to international economic cooperation. So they're free to pillage your nation and send it all overseas. And you can see that with all the gas and the oil and everything else and the minerals that that the rest of the world is getting for nothing.
Yeah.
And but we'll go back to without prejudice. See the without prejudice?
Mm-hmm.
Without prejudice means that you can change your mind at any time. Right? Because if they didn't put that there, then that would be involuntary servitude. But because they've got it there, it's voluntary servitude. Everybody has made the choice to be in their system. And so, know it or not, then they are in their system voluntarily. It's not. It's voluntary servitude that is everybody is under. But if they hadn't have put without prejudice there, then that would have been involuntary servitude. Now, if so, that means that we can leave their political society at any time.
Yeah.
And if they try to stop us from leaving their political society, then that would be involuntary servitude.
Yeah, and that's when we become slaves. At the moment, we're willing slaves, or at least, perhaps unknowingly, but we have been duped into going along with it.
That's right. Yeah, it's all been done by deceit. Anything done by deceit is null and void from the beginning.
Yeah.
All right, so we can either stay in their political society, or we can go back into the original Commonwealth under the Constitution, and that's where we are the ultimate authority. Right, so the people are the ones that created the Constitution. It's a universal law that he who creates, owns, and controls. Right, so the people are the ones that created the Constitution, and therefore the effect of that is the Constitution. The Constitution is the one that creates all the Parliament, the Senate, the judiciary, and all the other offices, which is also the Constitution is a trust. Right, the people are the settlers. The Crown is the Crown is the trustee, and the people of the nation are the beneficiaries, and it's the Crown's duty to protect their rights and all the other things under the Constitution. And so when you're in the Commonwealth, that's where you are the absolute supreme authority over the government, whereas they've turned it on their heads and they are the masters and we are the slaves, or in their system. And so, but because we can do it without prejudice, we can go back and restore our original nation. And by doing that, you're not attacking their system. They created their political society, and if you're in their political society, you're in their sandpit. You're playing with their bucket and spade. And if you're trying to attack their sandcastle that they created, then you're seen as a belligerent. And because you're trying to bring down something that they created, not that you created. Right? So when you come out of their system and back into the original Commonwealth, you're not attacking their system. What you're doing is you're just leaving, and you're going back, and you're restoring your birthright because everybody is born into a nation. Right? You can't be born into a corporation. And when you're born into a nation, you have a natural born allegiance to that nation. And that is where your estate is. Your estate is part of that nation. And by coming out of her and back into the original Commonwealth, you're reclaiming, or you're restating your allegiance to the Commonwealth and reclaiming your estate. And you're coming off the holy see of commerce, Stake AUS. When the man returns from beyond the sea, his estate will be revested.
Right. Yep. All makes sense. So, what's the first step people should start making, I guess? Like, you've explained that pretty well, and a lot of things have just connected for me right there. But I guess the next question, one of the questions Anna was asking, and maybe this might clear it up, because I think some people in the audience are not quite certain on this. So, Anna stated that she never realized that the Holy Empire may never have actually collapsed, as we pointed out, I thought, so it seems the Roman Empire started all this, I guess, at that particular point in time. There's probably other entities that have been playing around in the background doing their own thing, especially when it comes to the banking cartel, which would put it into the hands of, the Zionists, I guess. And I'm guessing this is where we're starting to see a merger, and because now we're trying to go global, the UN comes into play, and we're stepping out of that Roman Holy See, and they're transitioning their sandpit into a larger sandpit. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, it's evolved from those sovereign states. It goes all the way. I mean, the UN is only a product of the Holy Roman Empires, and you've got all the others that are involved, which are the Masons and all the other secret societies, the Fabians. I mean, like Gough Whitlam was a Fabian Catholic.
Labour Party is pretty much all Fabian, isn't it?
Yeah, and all these secret societies, like, and whatever, even if they don't know it, they're all working towards the same goal, virtually. There's actually two factions within this Holy Roman Empire. Everything in their system is on conflict, and they virtually have two in there. Like the Masons say that they hate the Catholics and whatever else, but they're both doing the same thing,
Yeah.
And and so anybody who is putting energy into this corporate system and participating is involved in that system, and that's really what the only thing that really keeps this system going is that people are participating in it. And everybody's got freedom of will and freedom of choice of which system it is that they live in. And until the people exercise their freedom of will and freedom of choice, then they're participating in their world. Their world is virtually an illusionary world. It's a two-dimensional world on paper, and it lives in the minds of men who believe in it. Right?
Yep.
Everything is an illusion. They just do it by changing names and whatever. And, you know, when the people wake up to exactly what it is and can see it for what it is, and it virtually breaks the spell. And, you know, everybody's got a choice of you know, coming out of that spell and back into the original Commonwealth, or, you know, they stay in this political society and participate in it. It doesn't matter what you do in that political society. It's like I liken it to, you know, the Chinese dragons that run around. They run around. They've all got the sticks, and they all run around the street. It's like everybody who is in their society has their hand on this stick. And it doesn't matter if you lift that stick up and down, side to side, round and round, you are giving that entity the motion. You're giving it the energy. Right? The only way you are ever going to escape that is to drop the stick and walk out.
Yep. Makes sense. So I guess that leads us to how do people go, I want to get rid of this stick? Because it seems like if I put this stick down, the world I understand and I know comes to an end, so to speak, you know, like, and what, I guess the other thing, what are the consequences of doing that? So like, as you stated before, all your paperwork disappears. You can no longer participate in their system. So driver's licenses, I'm guessing you can still get a bank account, but it's got to be done in a different way to the way you would normally do it, because then your proof of identification is all gone as well. So these fundamental services that we all sort of use every day. And then there's how do we go about, you know, working, you know, if you're not capable of running your own business and you're forced to be employed in their little sandpit, you know, how does one hold a job if you can't provide the basic proof of identification in their sandpit system?
Yeah, well, if you're a slave in their system, the slaves have no rights. But when you come out into the Commonwealth, then you have all your rights. Now, you know, we've been deceived. They took away the people's money in '66 and turned it into a fiat currency, which is military scrip, which is a dead instrument. And so, you know, the people of the people who are in their system have no remedy, whereas the people in the Commonwealth must have remedy, because it is them that have been harmed by taking away our ability to be able to expunge the debt. Now, you still operate in their system. You just do it in a different capacity. You know, they want you to be the legal person, or they want you to be the legal person, and to operate and act as that legal person, or be surety for that legal person. And so you want to do it in a different capacity. And one of the things that we do is, you know, there's a series of things that show them that you are not in their world, right? So, and we're all known by our actions, and until you do these actions, they're just going to presume and assume, which is what their whole system is based on, presumption, that you are in their world and you're participating and you are acting the part of a slave. But when you break that presumption we have, you know, first of all, there's unincorporating the name. By unincorporating the name, they are the ones that created the name with the birth certificate. Right? So your name is only your given names. right? And the family name, like there's millions of Smiths in the world, but they're not all related, right? So you don't own that surname. And so when they create the birth certificate, what they do is they capitalize that, meaning that that family is dead, and then they put your name behind it as a proper noun. And that is your estate. And that's because your father, when he, like, there's a form of information of birth, that's what it's called in New South Wales anyway, but it's called all different things. It's the one that your parents get from the hospital, and it's signed witnessed by the doctor and the nurse that deliver you.
Your live birth.
Yeah, live birth, a lot of people call it. And that document is evidence that you have a natural born allegiance and that your estate is part of the Commonwealth.
Yep.
And when your father takes that to birth, deaths, and marriages, or the courts, it used to be, and doesn't come back and pick up that form of information of birth, that very important document that shows that your estate is part of the Commonwealth, then it's presumed that he's dead and lost on the Holy See of Commerce, and that they must administer your estate. Right, and so they're administrating your estate.
And this is where we're coming into that Admiralty sort of law period where, I think it was back in the day, if you went off to sea sort of thing and you didn't come back, the government administers the state, and they've basically put everybody into that position, as we're unaware of how the legal system actually works in that.
Yeah. So they're administrating everybody's estate. Right? So everybody was, contracted into their society, and they're under their control, and they're administrating everybody's estate. And they did that through the birth certificate. They created the name through the birth certificate. Therefore, he who creates owns and controls. So it's a universal laws of cause and effect. If you create something, and then you own it, and so they own that name. So that name is what incorporates you into their system, right? You can't be born. You can't be born into a corporation. You're born into a nation, and so that form of information of birth, or live birth form, is the source document that they use to create the birth certificate, and then you presume dead, and that they must administrate the estate. You're made a ward, and so, but they own, at the end of the day, they own that name because they're the ones that create it. And so that's what incorporates you into their system. So when you go and you unincorporate that name, right, you go and you get an ABN for that name, an unincorporated ABN, and then you go and you buy that unincorporated ABN, and when you pay consideration for it, then you own it. And
what exactly is consideration worth?
Well, whatever, $40.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, 40, 42 or something or other it is nowadays. It used to be 30 when I done it. Was a lot less, but so by giving them that consideration, you have bought that name back so that they can't use it. So when you get the paperwork back from ATSIC, right, it says on there, well, it says on mine, Keith Charles Harvey in uppercase, is registered to Keith Charles Harvey as a proper noun, proper English.
Yep.
Right, so the government doesn't own it, I do. And so you've taken back your name, and it's not just an unincorporated name, it's an other unincorporated name. And the other indicates that it's in the Commonwealth, it's not in their system.
Right. Okay, so Mans wrote a short novel here, and it seems to have cut off. So I'll just let people know, like, just this is an example. As you can see, it's got the ... You've written too much. There's only so much that can come up, guys. So you got to kind of get stuff short and sweet. It seems to be, from what I can gather from what is written there, Mans, that you're basically saying, right, we can see the right from wrong and all that, and we're spilling everything. A friend of mine did a few years ago. He says, stopped paying land rates, car rego, She got by with help from a friend. In the end, she had had to concede defeat. So that's probably because she's tried to do it while playing in their sandpit. And I'm not sure at what point you've come in, Mans, but you need to sort of go back to the beginning of this discussion where we explained can't bring one system into another. So you can't play common law in corporate fiction. You need to remove yourself from that corporate fiction first. So I hope that helps clarify what you're trying to get across, Mans.
Yeah, it's all about your standing. You cure your standing, you cure everything. Right? While you're doing all that sort of stuff in their world, you're doing it in their world. And you're not in the Commonwealth. And while you're in their sandpit, you're in their sandpit. Their sandpit has a public and a private, and the Commonwealth has a public and a private. Right. So the original Commonwealth, the people are in the private, and then you used to have the public servants, right, which was the public. In their world, it's the same. Excuse me. In their world, it's the same. There's a public and a private, and in their private is the artificial public person, and in their public is the artificial public person, and in their private is the human. And the human in their law, if you look in their legal dictionaries, the human, you go into their legal dictionaries and it says sea monster. And then you go and you look up monster and it says, even though it may look like a man, it is more of a lower form of creature that cannot inherit or own property.
Yeah.
All right. So, a lot of people say that they have private trusts and private, foundations and whatever else, but they're still in their system. While you're in their sandpit, you're still in their system, and everything that you do in their system is under their control and whatever else. Right,
exactly.
So
and I hope that helps Mans' question here. So how do you fight with this gentleman's belief in a corrupt system? Well, the first problem is you're in the corrupt system. So in order to, you can't fight with what we're saying here in the corrupt system. It has to be, you have to get out of the system.
Yeah, so, you can't dig your way out of their sandpit with their bucket and spade.
No. And
so, the way to do it is to come out, as it says in Revelations 18:4, come out of her, my people, come out of their system where you are the absolute authority in the Commonwealth. But the only way that you can do that is by putting things on public record. And a lot of people don't know, see, like, when you go to court, people think that they're going to win in court and whatever else, but most people don't even know that if you put in an affidavit to court or whatever else, if you do not get that read onto the record, it's not on the record. It just sits in the file. And, like I had everything I did read onto the record. Right? So I put it onto their public record about what I've done. And now it's not everybody's going to be able to go into court and do all that, but they don't need to, because I've come up with other ways of being able to put it into the public record. And one is getting the ABN. They can see the ABN is an other unincorporated entity. Right? So you brought back your name. You get your form of information of birth. You get that apostilled. That is putting it onto their public record. When you get it apostilled, you do an affirmation of allegiance. You and that that shows them that your allegiance isn't to them. You when I was in court and found to be the living man and the executor of my estate, I put in paperwork, and I've got that paperwork on the site that people can do. And you do that. Excuse me. You do that, and you get that apostille. But you do that later on, and everything that you do helps you to cure your standing. Everything that you do. And what we're doing at the moment is that we are doing the Commonwealth electoral roll, and that Commonwealth electoral roll, people can sign up to go onto the electoral roll, and by doing that,
we come to the Commonwealth Custodians community. You got the page here, and that's the electoral roll information. Then we just click on this tab, correct?
Yeah, that's the original Federation flag. That's what I think that we should be under. That was the People's flag.
I've never seen that one before.
Yeah, that's the original. That was what the people wanted to be our flag at Federation.
Right. It's very similar to the one I've got in the background here, the Eureka stockade sort of set up in a sense.
Yeah. And
I always thought the Eureka flag was probably a better one than any of the others so far, but we'll deal with the Indigenous construct later. But okay, continue.
Yep. So the electoral roll, we have the Commonwealth officers, and we have the Commonwealth Office of Record. Now, unless anything is recorded, it doesn't exist. Right. And so we are recording anybody who wants to come out of the corporate and back into the original Commonwealth. They can go onto the electoral roll, and the electoral roll is also going to be a national identity, right? So we are Commonwealth nationals. We're not citizens, and so it shows to them that you are a national, that you're in the Commonwealth and not an Australian citizen, and they can't force you back into their world. They'll try and contract with you. They may, but if they try and coerce you into it, then they're trying to coerce you into involuntary servitude.
Yeah, slavery.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so where does one begin? You know, like if people are wrapping their heads around this and thinking,
join
wow,
Commonwealth
this is awesome.
Custodians. I mean, we need that's firstly your first step. By joining Commonwealth Custodians, you're joining. But your first step, join Commonwealth Custodians. That is virtually your first step. A march of 1,000,000 miles begins with the first step. And the information we have on there is the things that you do to start establishing your standing and cure your standing, and go through all the steps. There's we need people. Like, the only way we're ever going to restore the original Commonwealth is when the people of the Commonwealth come out and back into the original Commonwealth. And we need people to come in and help, like doing this electoral role. Even, we're appointing Commonwealth Justice to the Pieces at the moment, so that we've got enough people to. The only way that you can go onto the electoral roll is that you establish that you have a right to be on there, and you can't use corporate information. You can't use the birth certificate or driver's license as ID, because that doesn't identify you. It identifies the legal person. And so the only way that we can do it is that we do it by the Statutory Declarations Act 1911, which is an actual Commonwealth statutory declaration. And you state on that Commonwealth that you're eligible to the forms there. You saw the form before, and that is filled out. You put in your information, we fill it all out, and then it's emailed to you, and then you get on to Ring Central. Ring Central is our communication hub. It's virtually it's a video calls plus chat rooms and everything else. And you go onto there and you grab a JP who witnesses you sign it, and then that goes onto the public record in the Commonwealth.
And that's these forms here, Form AA ER.
Yeah, the ER is electoral roll.
Yep.
And that's the to be in a Commonwealth office, you have to do the affirmation of allegiance according to the Constitution. And we need people to occupy all these offices. We've got a whole heap of offices that we've got to fill, which is Commonwealth Justice of the Peace at the moment we're mainly looking for, but we're also going to be doing the Commonwealth Public Officials, Commonwealth Notaries. We've virtually got to set up the public service so that we can have elections. When we get enough people, the people are under the Constitution, only the people can elect a parliament. And so we just can't appoint a parliament or a senate or whatever else. It's the people who have to elect the parliament. And so what we are doing is we are giving the people the platform to be able to do that. And we've got to build that platform and get the people who can vote in a Commonwealth election. And we can't just let anybody in. There's election fraud and whatever else. And so we've got to do it through the statutory declaration and prove that they are eligible to vote in the Commonwealth. and
Yep.
then we vote in a parliament and a senate. And when we've voted in the parliament and the senate, then the original Commonwealth is back up and running. And we can say to the military, you've got to come back over here under the original Commonwealth. Otherwise, you are aiding and abetting a foreign entity against the people of the Commonwealth.
Right.
And we've taken back our nation.
So it's a work in progress, obviously. There's still a lot of steps to be taken. It's just about getting more people on board, really, and setting up that parallel society that has been spoken about quite a lot in the last 5 years. Lots of people kind of looked at that kind of construct, but there's no need to create something new. We just need to return to what was.
Yeah, they created the parallel society. The lookalike parallel society, and we're just going out of that parallel society and back to the original. And
so
we're doing
the big question I see in this, though, we're returning back to the original British Commonwealth in a sense, but has the royal family abandoned it as well? They seem to be on board with globalization. King Charles in particular. He's wow. I've never ever seen a globalist puppet. It's there. So have they abandoned their own Commonwealth and left it completely unchecked from the British point of view as well as the Australian point of view, and perhaps other Commonwealth colonies?
No, well, you can't judge. Biblically, every man every man has the innocence of has the right of innocent until proven guilty. And until there is such evidence of that. See, the problem is in 1973, when everybody went and signed up for Medibank or Social Security, what they did is they abandoned the Commonwealth. And when they abandoned the Commonwealth, the Queen had no subjects. And so she was virtually the only one that was in the Commonwealth, because everybody else went into this political society and had no subjects. Now, if she was to say, because it was all done by private agreement, right? Nobody is allowed to interfere in a private agreement. Right now, if she was to say, this happened and that happened, they probably just would have said, oh, look, she's gone nutty, and locked her away. So, I mean, they've been there with no subjects, and they're up against this system, which could say, look, if you don't do this, we're going to do something to your children, to the people, to anything. If you don't, if you say anything or you do anything, then we will do something terrible that that they couldn't do it. So I mean, you can't judge people. You know what this system is like.
Well, again, I'm curious as to what happens when enough people come back to the Commonwealth. Does that mean they get to reassert themselves as the body ruler and start throwing their weight around? And
on the 13th of April, on the 13th of April this year, while the government was in caretaker mode, while it was in caretaker mode, so in other words, there was no government. It was virtually just the public servants doing it virtually. And what we did is I wrote a trust, and that trust can be seen on the Commonwealth Public Notice Board. I wrote the trust. I've been writing trusts in the Commonwealth since 2015. That's when I started writing it. I finished it around 2017, and I've been perfecting it. But I wrote another trust for the Commonwealth, which can be seen on commonwealthpublicnotice.org and all the other documents that have been put onto public notice in regard to that. Because the Constitution is a trust, right? The people are the settlers, the Crown is the trustee, and the people are the beneficiaries of that trust. And the public servants or the Crown are there to serve the people as in a fiduciary, with a fiduciary duty.
Yep.
And so it's a trust, and under trust law, the beneficiaries of that trust, if something was to happen, if the trustee was negligent or wasn't doing their duty, or the trust was usurped, which it has been by the corporate, the beneficiaries have the right to be the trust protectors and appoint new trustees. We found trust protectors in each state. They in turn appointed 3 trustees to each state, and those 3 trustees sit on the board of stewards of the Commonwealth, and I am the Commonwealth trustee, the first trustee, and because I am also the accountable authority for the non-corporate Commonwealth entity, which is the bridge between the two worlds. And what we did is we wrote a trust, and we all gathered in Sydney on the 13th of April while it was in caretaker mode. We advertised that would be there to execute the trust. We read the trust onto the public record, and we signed that trust, executed it there. And so that was the first public notice. The second was that we put it onto the Commonwealth Public Notice Board, the one that you see there, commonwealthpublicnotice.org, and we also put it into the Australian newspaper, and that was the third public notice. And we also sent it to the Governor General, the Governor General, to the Provost Marshal, which is the military lawyers, and to all the registered political parties, because they are the one that form this corporate government. While they were in caretaker mode, there was nobody in government. So we sent it to the political parties, and they were all made aware. And it's funny how that for the last 50 years, they have not taken the proper oath to the Commonwealth.
Yep.
Except this year, they did.
Oh. So what ramification does that have now that they've started getting their oaths right?
Well, it's a start. They're still running rampant as the corporate, but it's but what the trust does is, what we have done is that we have stated that we are the original Commonwealth, and that we are holding the original Commonwealth in trust, and that we are the authority, we are the principal, and and that we will be establishing the original Commonwealth. And so that was never refuted. Our right to do that was never refuted. The trust was never rebutted, and a higher claim was never presented. And so therefore it stands in law and in fact.
Right. There's a few questions that have sort of come through. We might want to sort of start dealing with them. Sue asked this quite some time ago. Sorry for taking so long to get to you, Sue. What about people who were born overseas and migrate and became naturalized citizen and has lived here for 65 years? How does what you're proposing work for them? Is there a different process where they need to return, get their documents from their country of birth, or?
No. Well, we've got nationalisation documents for those who, did it. 65 years ago, he would have done nationalisation and not citizenship. So he would only have to present those documents. The ones that done it as a citizenship, they would have to be nationalised. But we have the documents for that. The people who were born here, they have a natural born allegiance, but also the people who are born in other Commonwealth countries, they also have a natural born allegiance to the British Commonwealth. And so they do have a slightly different forms, but the
fundamentally the same process.
Yeah, it's only the people that weren't born in a Commonwealth country that have to be nationalised before they can enrol on the electoral roll.
Right. Trish wants to know about healthcare. Well, the current healthcare system is in their sandpit, is the way I'm looking at this. And until we establish something on the Commonwealth side of things, I guess you're kind of on your own in a certain sense. I know like Medicare subsidise a great many elements of healthcare, and I guess it is a very legitimate question. If we don't have a great deal of wealth to our name, how does one, get surgery done if need be, once you've removed yourself from the system?
Oh, that Medicare card, see that the legal person doesn't have arms and legs, right? So that Medicare card, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the person. That name on there is in capitals. It doesn't belong to you. That's not your name. It's the person's name. And they want you to be that person. But what you do is that you do it in a different capacity, that you do it. You go and sign things. It's all about how you sign. And you do it in a different capacity. So when you go and sign anything, you use by, right? So when you use by, capital B-Y, full colon, that means that you are signing on behalf of somebody else. And then you use an autograph, which is just running writing, but readable. It's not a scribble. Right. And
so it has to be joined letters, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's got to be it can't be printed. It's just got to be running writing, but readable. So it's an autograph and not a signature.
Right.
And so you only use your first name or your first name hyphen together with the second name letter lowercase, so it makes it one name and not two names joined together.
Got your name written there on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and by doing that, if you look in the Bible, everybody in there virtually only has one name. There's very few that have two names. One was Judas Iscariot, the one that turned over Jesus or Yeshua. and the others was an evil king, and there is a couple of others, but all the others names are hyphened together, so they're just one name, or they just have one name, and they're hyphened together. And so you don't use the signature that they know as the person in their world, right? So you just, I just use Keith, but some people use the hyphen one and sign it that way. It's up to them. But then you put comma, and then you put it in what capacity it is that you are signing it. Right, so the buy is that you're signing on behalf of somebody else. The autograph is that you're not the legal person, and that you are signing in whatever capacity, whether that's the executor of contracts for your natural private person if you've unincorporated your name, or if you've done the paperwork for the testament to will, which is where you claim your estate, then you sign as the executor of your estate or executor of your estate. And then we also have trust, like you can get yourself out of their system, by letting them know. But if you want to get your property out of their system, then we use the trust to bring real estate out. We use a trust that is actually in and recorded in the Commonwealth. Under the Hague Trust Convention Act, they must recognize Commonwealth trusts. That is also in their Trust Hague Convention Act 1991, that they must recognize, and not only recognize the trust, that they must recognize the jurisdiction, the chosen jurisdiction of the trust. And the chosen jurisdiction of the trust is the Commonwealth, which is Chapter 3 courts. That's the only competent, that's the only courts that are competent jurisdiction. And so, and these trusts are a charitable trust organization, so they virtually have an organization within the trust, and it's charity. And a charity can be that you're helping people to come out of the system and back into the original Commonwealth. And that so they are exempt. You can run businesses through them. You can do, there's actually two trusts. One is a private trust in the private of the Commonwealth, and then there's one trust that is the management trust, which is in the public of the Commonwealth. And so both trusts are in the private of the Commonwealth, but the public and the private. And the public one is the one that manages the property that is kept in the private trust. So all the property is kept in the private trust, and the management trust is the one that manages everything in their system. It is the gateway between the two worlds, so to speak, and you operate there as in the capacity of the trustee. So anything you do, you're doing it in the capacity of the trustee. You're not doing it as the person. And when you put anything into trust, the trustee becomes the legal owner of everything that you put into trust. And when we put property into these trusts, we do it as a life estate. And when you put put property in as a life estate, because it's a life estate is under common law, it goes in fee simple and it comes out in fee simple.
Right.
And we will be recording the trusts in the Commonwealth, and anybody who has property, that legal title will be able to be exchanged for a deed in fee simple in the Commonwealth.
Okay. Now, does that hang on, let me think about this. So if you still have a mortgage, do you need to clear that debt before you can move in to this sort of putting your property into a trust? Or is that something that can be no?
No.
Okay,
So
cool.
everything that they've done has been done by fraud and deceit.
Right.
Right. So when you come back into the Commonwealth, and you, like when you go in and you sign for a property, you sign for a loan, you sign a note. That's a promissory note.
Yeah.
And then they pass that promissory note on 10 times after that.
Yeah.
Right? So when it gets passed on, even the first time you sign it, you are the one that in their system that is creating, say, the $1 million that the property is worth.
Yeah.
Right? And so you are the creator of that. And then they try and get the money off you again.
Yeah.
Right? And then they also pass on that debt 10 times, that promissory note. So when you come into the Commonwealth and you transfer your land title into the Commonwealth, and it becomes in fee simple in the Commonwealth, then it's the trustee, which is me. It becomes my responsibility to negotiate settlement for that, and the banks will have the opportunity to come and bring the note, and it'll be settled through the accountable authority for the non-corporate Commonwealth entity in their world, if they can produce a note that hasn't been passed on 10 times, or hasn't even been passed on.
Which they can't do that because they've passed it on.
Yeah, but if they cannot produce that note, then there is no debt.
Awesome. That makes perfect sense. So then comes, I guess, the council turning around and saying, well, you need to keep paying out. Where does that stand once we've taken it out of their sandpit? Do they then still have the right to charge, I guess, property tax, for lack of a better term, as far as their council rates go?
No, well, when the people come into the Commonwealth, they come under the trust. They are the beneficiaries of the trust. The whole Public Government Performance and Accountability Act is about access to the Consolidated Revenue Fund and special accounts, and of the resources to be able to fund the entity, and we are entitled to that. And so the people that they may be in the system, but they won't be of the system, and so therefore they're entitled to remedy, because they're not slaves in the system. They're Commonwealth nationals, and because their lawful money was removed and replaced with military scrip, then they have to give us remedy, and that remedy could take several forms. It could be that any bill that you get sent, you just sign the back of it, send it to the trustee's office in your state, and they send it to Treasury, and Treasury pays for it.
Right. So again, it's not coming directly out of our pocket. It's another cost of living that has been removed, so to speak, from our burden.
Yeah, all bills. You know,
Yeah.
the only thing you really got to pay for is food. And
you're frozen there, buddy. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
and you know,
You're back. Sorry, you froze there for a couple of minutes, or for about 30 seconds or so. Sorry, mate.
yeah, but in that Public Governance Performance and Accountability Act, it you know, the accountable authority for the non-corporate Commonwealth is you know, has access to the Consolidated Revenue Fund and special accounts, you know, and so we're entitled to you know, be able to you know, have remedy so that we can expunge our debts. You know, that could
so that's in the
several
Public
years.
Governance Performance and Accountability Act. Do you know off the top of your head where that comes into the legislation here?
Under 15, if you go down to 15.
Yep. Duty to govern the
just
Commonwealth
read that
entity.
bit there, yeah.
So the accountable authority of a Commonwealth entity must govern the entity in a way that A, promotes the proper use and management of public resources for which the authority is responsible, and B, promotes the achievement of the purpose of the entity, and C, promotes the financial sustainability of the entity.
Yeah.
Two,
So
in making decisions of the process, or is that not relevant?
Yeah, no, well, it's like from there down to about, I think it's 22, right? It'll go through, you know, all the duties and what you've got to do and whatever else. You know, account, you know, about, you know, the responsibility that you have to do, and yeah, you'll see a bit further there. Non-corporate Commonwealth entities. Yeah. The accountable authority for the non-corporate Commonwealth entity must govern the entity in accordance with paragraph 15.1a in a way that is not inconsistent with the Australian government. Right. So the only thing that it has to do is 15.1a. And if you read 15.1a, it's you know, govern. It's promote the proper use and management of public resources for the authority responsible.
And actually, I just realized it has the note there as a part of that telling you section 21, which is about the application of government policy, affects how this duty applies to accountable authorities of non-corporate Commonwealth entities.
Yeah. So
wow, it's right here in plain fucking English. What?
So the only the you know, you can tell from that the accountable authority for the non-corporate Commonwealth entity is the principal, because that's the only thing that they have to do. All the rest is for the corporate.
Yeah. They created it, they deal with it.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. It's the ultimate mirror magic. It really is just, no, here's the mirror. Look at yourself. You want blood from this stone? Here's the mirror.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. That's absolute gold. Okay. Mans, have we actually, you asked this quite some time ago, do you think we've covered what you've said here regarding what have these trusts served? Would you mind explaining? I think we've probably explained that. Do you think?
Yeah, well, the trust, you know, we're still putting the Commonwealth, we're at the foundations. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, trying to get people to understand all this, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, people have come and gone, but you know, it's most of it just goes completely over people's heads.
Yeah,
about
I can see why.
Yeah, And but now we've got sort of enough people to kick it off, but we need more people to come and help and restore the Commonwealth. And the only way that we're going to do that is if people actually put their energy, take their energy away from the
energy
take the energy away
and
from
vultures.
Yeah, take it away from the corporate and start putting your energy into restoring the Commonwealth.
No, that's really, it's really ringing true, especially with some of the things that I've been sort of, I guess, channeling, for lack of a better term, to create something that's better, that create the remedy, and I remember hearing that, and it's something I was listening, meditation thing I was listening to the other day, and I'm like, okay, so how does that come apart? How do we do that? Ask the question, and the universe is provided, and here we are having that conversation of how to do that. I'm loving this. This is gold. Kerry has another question. Didn't the Queen write a letter to Australia that was sealed until her death, placed in the People's Parliament House? Can't remember where I heard or read that, though. Do you know anything about this?
Don't know.
Yeah, that's news to me. Sorry, Kerry. If you can figure out where you heard that, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, when we do this, it's not about who sits on the throne. Another thing I'm doing is also the Abrahamic covenant, and there's also another 120-page document that we will be putting onto public notice, and the Abrahamic covenant, and it's all to show our rights under the Abrahamic covenant. That we are, that the throne of England is actually the throne of David, and it doesn't matter who sits on that throne. It's not up to us, and it doesn't really matter. The thing is that is the authority that we are under, and by not going under these things, then you don't have the authority to do it, right? You have the authority to do it when you do it under, if you're doing it under the Abrahamic covenant, or you're doing it under divine law or natural law or imperial law, common law, equity, and those are our laws that we do it under. And this system puts down everything that they don't want us to like. So they put down the royal families, they put down the king and queens, and they put down the Bible, they put down everything else, and they hold up transsexuals and pedophiles and everything else. And we've been living under this for 50 years, and it's them that have been projecting all these, the images on the wall of Plato's cave. And most of them were false images. And forget about your biases and whatever else. The main thing is to come out of her, and don't quibble over little things that don't really, you've really got no evidence that these things have really happened or whatever else. You just got to you've got to trust that that it'll all happen in divine time, and it's all meant to happen. And it's It's got nothing to do with the little things that, that could have been just hearsay, made up or whatever else. If you don't have evidence, then it's just hearsay.
Yeah. Totally get it. Now, Anthony's put this comment here. I just wanted to acknowledge because it looks pretty good. Free men free themselves. Slaves wait to be free.
That's my saying.
Yeah,
that's my quote. Yeah,
I noticed.
And so
point that out. And mostly because it's something I've said so often. Stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. You need to start saving yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you are the only one that can save yourself. Everybody's got freedom of will and freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And unless you exercise that freedom of will and freedom of choice, then you're never going to free yourself. It's a maxim of law that he who does not assert his rights has none. And that goes for authority. He who doesn't assert their authority has none. The thing is, I've asserted my rights and I've asserted my authority, and I've got to where I am by doing that. And, people's biggest enemy is fear. And unless you can and even their fear is an illusion. Everything in their system is a boogeyman.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist. They made it up.
That's it.
So, I don't know how much time you've got. We've put in like an hour and 50 so far. I'm feeling like maybe a bit of a pee break, maybe a smoko is in order, for lack of a better term. Are you interested in continuing on, or should we perhaps schedule to pick this up another day? What suits you, man? I'm happy to keep going with a bit of a break.
Yeah, all right. We have a break for 10 minutes or so, and come back.
All right. I've got a quick 5-minute song queued up here that'll give us 5 minutes, and I'll find something else in the background while that's happening to cue off after that. We'll see you in 10 minutes then.
All right, beauty.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. And to the audience, this is your opportunity. If you've got questions about what we've discussed so far, that if you're not understanding something, now's the time to drop your comments. My wonderful team there in the background will star those comments so that we can get back to them when we resume. Cool. Thanks. And I'll see you soon.
All right. Beauty.
Well, intermission is done. We are back. It seems that a great many questions have not been asked. So it would seem that everybody has comprehended and followed along quite well so far, which is amazing. It's always good to see the audience understands what is transpiring. So, Keith, I guess one of the comments that was made earlier was, oh, here comes the grift, $144 a year to sort of sign up. To me, that doesn't seem too much. I think I spent more on German lessons for a year with an online app. So to me, I don't feel that what you're asking is too outrageous. What are people getting for that money, though?
Well, they're contributing to restoring the Commonwealth.
Mm.
I mean, does everybody want to leave it up to me to pay for everything? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think I've contributed probably over $1.5 million probably to doing this.
Oh, wow.
I think somebody, people should be able to afford $15 a month as a contribution to restore our Commonwealth. And we're limited by what we can do, by how much money we get. Like I've made to sign up to do the electoral roll $1, because I don't want anybody to miss out if they're struggling, but we really need people to give more. So because it's going to, everything costs money. I mean, I built the website. I maintain the website. I do, I do everything. I've virtually been paying for everything for the Commonwealth for 10 years. And to get us to this stage. And I don't think it's too much for people to contribute to doing it, and the more people contribute, the more that we can do. I've been limited over the last 10 years by how much money I've got to be able to do it, and I'll tell you, it's not much. I live week to week virtually, and everything costs money, and it's not going to happen unless we have people contributing to it.
Right. So, like I said, what are people getting though? I think there was some comments probably from people who have already sort of jumped on board earlier about there being, information seminars and, group meetups once a week or something to that effect. So, obviously, if we look at this website, you let's assume you paid your $15 or whatever, just a month, just to see what it's like. You click login. What does the website look like once I've clicked login? Does it unlock some bonus features?
When you're like, it's a private membership site, right? So what you're doing is you're joining the private membership, which is the Commonwealth of Australia. You're joining the autonomous community known as the Commonwealth of Australia. And it gives you the information in there about how to unincorporate the name, or all the steps that you can do to break their presumption that you're in their system. And we also have Ring Central, and Ring Central is our communication hub. It's you can have video calls on there. We have meetings. There's also like chat rooms. There's teams and groups. So, like, if you wanted to become a Commonwealth Justice of the Peace, then you can be asked to put into the Commonwealth Justice of the Peace group, and that's where you get all the information about being a Justice of the Peace. If you want to be something else, we're really looking for organisers to organise all this. I mean, it's too much for me to do. I've sort of got it to this stage, and it's really up to the people of the Commonwealth to come in and take over and doing it the right way, which is what I can show them how to do it the right way. But it's got to be done exactly the right way. But we need people to do it. We need people to organise. We need people to go into offices. We need people to put their input in. We need people's skills. We need their knowledge of the Constitution and common law and natural law and all the things that we've got to operate under, and how ideas about how we restore the Commonwealth and how we get people all signed in to the electoral roll. I mean, that's a big job in itself, is getting people onto the electoral roll. It's bigger than what I thought it was going to be, because we started it up probably a month ago, thinking that we had it all organised, but then when we went to do it, we found out that we had to, of course we're doing it mostly over video, that we've got to have a site that can sign it electronically. It's got to be witnessed by a JP, because it's a statutory declaration. It's got to be witnessed by a JP. We're using Ring Central, which is our communication hub, to do that. But what we really need is organisers. We need people with knowledge. We need people with ideas about how we do this, and we need the people to come in and form the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is the people. It's not a geographical location. It is the people.
Well, I mean, what you're doing comes with the praise of Jackie, who's been a big supporter of what you're doing, and she's mentioned this on the podcast many times before. And thanks to Jackie for getting us in contact so that we could have this podcast too. It all seems very exciting, at this particular juncture in time. I'm guessing we've got a couple of people who have already sort of jumped on board here, because we've got Paul here saying it's 2 cups of coffee a month. Kathy, all monies go to running the site, which is fair enough. Paul again, there's plenty of groups charging way more and they don't offer the remedy that Commonwealth Custodians do. So this seems like we've got a few people who are pretty happy with what seems to have happened. Mark, as Wayne here has said, I am with other groups, and I'm guessing that's don't, not font, have solutions like the Custodians. So, actually, we've got a relevant question. How many people are currently in the Commonwealth, asks Kurt Haggett.
Oh, well, anybody who has joined the site is in the Commonwealth and gone through the steps. But the big one is going to be when we start doing the electoral roll and we get everybody recorded. Right? Yeah. So unless it is recorded, it's not acknowledged. Yeah. And this will be recorded in the Commonwealth on the Commonwealth electoral roll in the Commonwealth, and that is really when we start getting people in there. We've had, like as I was saying, that a lot of this goes over people's head. We've had several thousands go through Custodians and do the steps and whatever else, but a lot of it just goes over a lot of people's heads, and you've got to be you've really got to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. You know, it's not a silver bullet. It's a journey that people have to go on to free themselves. You know, the only ones that can do it is themselves. You know, people have been indoctrinated, you know, over 50 years. And, you know, a lot of it is unlearning all the crap that we've been fed.
And it's you've just quoted Yoda, one of my favorites from 1980 Star Wars. You know, you must unlearn what you have learned, he says to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, you know, and my one of my other sayings is that, you know, we're on Starship Enterprise here. We're going where no man has ever been before. You know, and you know, we're the ones that will be plotting the course. As the Australian people, you know, be the Australian people that, you know, choose which way we go, whether or not we stay in the you know, the corporate cult, Roman cult system, or we come back into the Commonwealth. I mean, there's only two empires on this earth. One is the Roman Empire and one's the English Empire. And everybody's got a choice of which one they're in. But there's only two choices.
That's it. Anthony said here, if you have any public service, administrative and organizational knowledge and experience who can and want to assist and come home. I'm guessing it's kind of a bit of an invitation and the kind of skill set you're looking for at the moment.
Yeah, we're looking for everything, really, you know, but at the moment, really, we need admin, we need organisers, you know, people. We need people in offices such as Justice of the Peace, Commonwealth Justice of the Peace, so that we can get this first stage up and running, which is the electoral roll. And then from there, we're going to move on to doing identity documents for everybody. Then we're going to move on to changing titles into fee simple and giving a deed for that. I mean, we can't do everything at once. We're limited by money. We're limited by people. We're limited by time. You know, and the more people we have, the more we can do.
Nice. Well, I can certainly help you out with video production, design work and all that. You've probably seen all the fancy things pop up, those film clips. I've made all those film clips, all the design stuff that goes into this podcast. I've designed all myself. You know, first thing I look at is like, this logo looks like it could be touched up a bit. I think I can help you out there straight away.
Yeah.
You know, design work is certainly something that I'm keen on. Another element that is a part of this website that we discussed earlier, if people scroll down enough, I mean, there's obviously links there to things that we've discussed already. But you've got the download the PDF book here, which brings people to Dick Yardley's Australian Political Treason, Treachery and Sabotage by Dick Yardley. 498 pages of entertainment to keep you busy over the holiday season, ladies and gentlemen, and it's available for free. So, you know, before the person jumping up and down about grifters earlier before gets a knickers and a knot again, don't worry, this is available for free. You can have a read and start to wrap your head around some of these constructs. Apparently 442 pages, which were compiled from research into factual evidence of treason, treachery, sabotage against the Commonwealth of Australia. And also in, you know, a little bit further down in the worldwide of deceit category, you have the download PDF book, which you were saying is it is the compendium. And as we see, I love the use of the world tree concept. It rings home with the Viking blood a little bit there. The Commonwealth of Organic Nations. So, you know, it's just, again, another 235 pages to keep you entertained over the holiday period. best of luck to those of you who read a lot faster than I. You'll probably get through it quicker than I do. But, at the end of the day, my personal reading disability aside, I still push through and fucking engage, as I've got written on the blackboard here. So these documents, do you want to give us a quick little spiel about why it's important that people read these?
Yeah, well, the Dick Yardley's book has all the evidence about how they've changed the original Commonwealth into the corporation. All the deceit that they have done to do that. Anything done by deceit is null and void from the beginning. And then there's my book, which I wrote in 2015 and released in January of 2016. And it explains from Genesis through to now how we got this corporate system. And it also explains in there, this was, I wrote it in 2015 and released it in 2016, but I have not gone off that path. This is it's never changed. Truth never changes. And this gives everybody the foundation of what they need to know about what it is that we're doing. And it shows people, the deceit that's happened. And it gives the remedy. And the remedy was in there, which I wrote in 2015, that, we need to restore the Parliament of the Commonwealth. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to get our nation back. And so, the remedy's been there since 2015. And I've been working my way to provide that remedy since then.
So I've just noticed Rocket's popped in with a few comments here. I didn't see you earlier, mate, so you may have missed the first part, but he's kind of stating that, this was done years ago with Des and Mike Holt done it with 9 sheriffs and they were arrested. I don't have a lot of faith in Mike Holt's work myself. That's my personal opinion. What's your response to this? And I have to say, I have a feeling that Rocket hasn't watched the earlier parts, and I would recommend that you do.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with sheriffs and whatever else. It's all about coming out of her and back into it. And there is nobody who is doing it the way that we are doing it. Nobody. This is. Nobody has offered any remedy. Everybody can tell you what the problems are. And, I've been doing this for 10 years. I haven't been arrested. Nobody,
Yeah.
And, I'm out of the system. And, they know that I am. Yeah. And that's the only way, by curing your standing, you cure everything.
Yeah.
And that's the whole secret behind it is, how do you cure your standing? And we've got that, and that's come out of her and back into the Commonwealth and be recognised as a Commonwealth national.
For sure. I see Rocket said that he has been here the whole time, and he obviously doesn't have faith in Mike Holt either. Those comments will pop up soon enough. So cheers for acknowledging that, Rocket. I'm just trying to think.
I had a look at at his Commonwealth public officials. We've got Commonwealth public officials. I'm a Commonwealth public official. Anybody who is in a Commonwealth office is a Commonwealth public official. The thing is that, he was signing up Commonwealth public officials, but if you read the fine print at the bottom of it, it says this doesn't come back into it. This doesn't come into effect until the Commonwealth is restored.
Yeah,
and that was 8 years ago or something or other. So there's a lot of people, doing a lot of stuff, but they're doing it the wrong way. And ours is always about, doing it exactly the right way, doing it under law, doing it under equity, doing it under divine right.
Now, I guess one of the important things for people to consider too is, consequences of this kind of thing. Like, what are the drawbacks for those who are, still very much loving being a slave in the slave system, are used to, the system looking after them and doing everything and taxing the absolute shit out of them for the privilege? What kind of difficulties might people have adjusting?
Well, it's going to be they're going to have to learn how to walk the walk and talk the talk of a Commonwealth national and not a slave. A lot of people won't even do it because they may wish to stay in the system, and everybody has that choice. Everybody's got freedom of will and freedom of choice. And if they choose to stay in the system, that's their prerogative. It's two worlds, and everybody has freedom of choice, and it can only be those who choose to come out of the system that can come out of the system. Free men free themselves. Slaves wait to be freed. If they're going to wait in the system to be freed, it'll probably never happen. They'll be stuck in the system.
Waiting a long time. Well, I mean, again, what problems have you encountered, in the last 10 years after having stepped out of the system, and that, again, you were saying previously, you've learnt to navigate on within their system, because obviously it's pretty hard. They've got the run of everything. They're running the electricity, they're running the alleged government and various other things that they've set up this system, and we have to, as you said, there's a bridge between them. So what problems have you encountered, and what are the kind of remedies that you figured out so far to navigate these seas?
I haven't had any problems whatsoever. There's things like, for the people to pay on the website, you have to get an international gateway for the credit cards. I got that under the name Keith Charles Yeshurun. Yeshurun is a poetic name for Israel. Israel is not the plot of dirt in the Middle East. Israel is Jacob and the 12 tribes of Israel, which were God's people. And in Isaiah 44:5, it says that some will say, I am the Lord's. Some will call themselves by the name Jacob, and some will subscribe with their hand unto the Lord and surname themselves Israel. And so that's the name I use as a surname, and that's the family name, so that you're in that family, right? So that you are in the one of God's people. And so when I set this up, I set it up under that, and it's knowing how to deal with the system. Everything in their system is contract, and you've got to be a better contractor than what they are. And so there's things like unincorporating the name. We found that lots of people have, when they've unincorporated the name, that their driving record has disappeared. It's gone back to being a clean license. Paul had lost his license several times. He had a driving record as long as your arm. Unincorporated his name. Went to find out about his driving record. Completely clean. No record.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would solve a lot of problems for a lot of people, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
so does that mean you still hold that driver's license? Because obviously one of the things you see a lot of people have gone, oh, I don't do the license, I don't do the registration plates, they make their own plates, and they end up being targeted and harassed by police. So
that's because they're still a slave.
Yeah.
They haven't identified who they are, that they're not a slave, that they're a Commonwealth national.
So once you've identified yourself as that Commonwealth national, the copper pulls you over, you haven't got plates, you haven't got a license. What is a person? The person is the wrong term.
I don't recommend people do that.
Okay.
What we recommend is that they establish who they are first.
Yeah.
And they keep the license. They keep, they carry that piece of plastic around for the person so that the useful idiots don't harass you on the side of the road. And you sign your license VC by, your first name, comma, executor, and you send to the Department of Transport, the head of the Department of Transport, the Attorney General, and the Minister for Transport, that you have signed your license under duress, and you're paying your registration under duress.
Yeah. And Paul's put in exactly how that's supposed to be written, and VC basically the Latin derivative, I believe, of under duress, if that's correct.
Yeah. There should be he's got the full colon around the wrong way. It should be behind by, and not Paul.
So VC full colon Paul executor or comma executor.
Comma executor. Yeah.
Right.
And
so it should be VC like this. Actually, I'm
going
to make it a banner. So V.C colon, and for lack of a better term, Batty.
Yeah. And then
comma.
Full colon Paul, comma executor. Right. So the VC is that you're signing under duress.
So it should be like that. Is that correct? Except I've spelled executor wrong.
There should be another dot behind the C.
Okay.
And it should be Y. Right. So it's V dot C dot. Yeah, that's it there.
Okay. I see. Yep.
Yeah. So that's how you sign. So the VC is that you're signing under duress. The by means that you're signing for somebody else. Right. So you're signing for the legal entity.
And that's a capital B on the by, correct?
Yep. And the key is is that you're not signing as the legal entity as they know it.
Yeah.
Right? So
With that full cap
you're just
names and
using,
shit.
yeah, you're just signing for, you're only signing with your given name. You're not using the name that doesn't belong to you. And the comma executor is the capacity that it is that you're signing that. So you're signing it as the executor of that contract, and only the living can execute a contract. It's a doing word. It's like the legal fiction does not have arms and legs. It cannot execute anything.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, that again, this seems like such a very common sense approach, as opposed to trying to, attack and fight and get yourself in a lot of trouble. It's just no, hang on, this is how we're doing things, and not encouraging people to do things that are going to get them in trouble. Like I've seen a lot of other people getting around trying to do, basically, and as stated earlier, fight the system. You become the belligerent in that point, in that case. So this is making a lot of sense.
I did this originally in about 2016 for somebody. Like I didn't have a license and I didn't have rego or anything else, but I'd been through the court and already been found. I've already established who I am. But they were 70. They didn't want to get stuck on the side of the road with the useful idiots harassing them or anything else, by just giving away their license and their rego or whatever else. Yeah. So, I said, well, all right, this is what we'll do, and I came up with that idea. He did it. Probably 3 months later, he was going 20 to 30 k's over the limit. He was dodging in and out of traffic. He was talking on the phone. A four-wheel drive pulled out of a side road and was following him. A black four-wheel drive. They followed him for 11 kilometres. When the blue lights went on in the dash, pulled him over and came up to the car and said, "Phil, what are you doing?" No second name, knew who he was, and said, "What are you doing?" And Phil says, "Oh, well, I'm running late to pick up my missus, and this and that." And the copper said, "Well, look, I've been following you for the last 11 kilometres and you've been going 20 to 30 k's over the limit. You've been dodging in and out of traffic. You've been talking on the phone. You've been texting on the phone." And Phil goes, "No, I have not been texting on the phone." And the copper said, "Look, if I was to fine you for everything that you have done, it would be thousands of dollars." He said, "I can't lecture you and fine you. Please slow down," and went back to his car.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating, because the streets, as far as I understand, it's pretty much a zero tolerance policy, and we will fine and fine and fine again.
Yeah. And coming up to the window and calling you by your first name. I mean, even that is, and knowing who you are. So it's come up on their computer, do not stop, do not whatever, because he's identified who he is. They know who he is before he does anything. But if they pull you over and you tell them, "Oh, I don't have a license and, I don't have rego and whatever else," and they don't, and you're still a slave, then they'll treat you like one.
Fascinating stuff. Commonwealth Custodians, can you put my questions up about Masach? I'm not even sure how to say that word.
Masach, yeah.
I did see there was a question earlier about that, but yeah, well, if you don't know the name, I don't know the name, so
I don't
the
know what it
earlier
is.
question, yeah, I'll have to scroll back quite some way, but yeah, if you don't know who it is and I don't know who it is, I don't think we're going to be able to answer your question, buddy. Sorry. So Adrian here says, "Hi Keith, there are any books we can read to make it easier to get ahead?" Well, I think we covered that already. That's probably it's an older question for a little while ago. As stated, in case you weren't paying attention at the time or you've just come in, if you go to the website, and I'll just bring it back up for you.
CommonwealthCustodians.org.
Yeah, CommonwealthCustodians.org. You'll see the webpage from the top there. We scroll down a bit. Then we come to this part, Treachery Most Foul, with this picture of this lady here. You've got your first book, which will take you to Dick Yardley's book here, Australian Political Treason, Treachery and Sabotage. And again, back at the custodians.org website, we come down just a little bit further to the World Wide Web of Deceit. And here is another download PDF section, and it will take you to the compendium written by Keith Charles himself. So that should keep you busy for quite some time. And I guess once you've read that and you still want to know more, that would be the point where you're back to this website going, righto, where do I go? And we're clicking our membership plans and saying, hey, look, I might spend $15 and suss it out for a month, or you can just jump straight in for the 1 year plan, whatever. I guess I could be a salesman for you guys too. But yeah, this is where we're at.
Yeah. There's everything you need to know, like the foundation of everything that we're doing is in that book. And it connects the dots. It connects the dots, and it gives you a 40,000 foot view of this. Most people only see the different points of the picture. They only see it as little bits, whereas this helps you to see it as a whole. And when you look at it as a whole, things are totally different. You get a whole total different perception and aspect. And when you look at it from that view, you see how it all works.
So personal accountant has come out again. There's Mashayk is Jewish. Actually, he's got to wait. How do I say that? Moshiach is Jewish from tribe of Benjamin Lib of David. And apparently it's the whole point of everything we are going through at the moment. Okay.
I don't really know. I haven't heard of him.
I'm not familiar, mate. I don't know if you want to send me an email explaining it a little bit. We can look into it for a later date. If there's, I don't know if you got a simple way of sort of putting forth what it is you're trying to state here. It seems we're just not equipped to deal with that. Sorry.
Somebody's talking about the blue corporate flag. Well, I don't fly the blue corporate flags. I believe that it's the Federation flag that we should be under. The red ensign, that was given by King George or whoever it was, and I don't see anything wrong with the red ensign. I still just believe that we should be flying the Federation flag, which is the.
Where did I find that flag again before? Sorry, I had that flag.
It was on the. Was on the registration. It was on the site on the
electoral roll info.
Electoral roll page.
Which it's a bit stretched, but that's the image that we're looking at.
Yeah. That's the Federation flag, and that was the people's choice at Federation to have.
So, I guess now's a good time to sort of bring in the indigenous population. This is obviously the Commonwealth thing, and for some people might state that, oh, this is all colonial crap. What bearing does it have as far as the indigenous people of this land go, who are obviously been born here and their blood's in the soil for quite some time? Have you sort of looked at how that works? Have you got any tribes working with you in any shape or form?
I'm a member of a tribe,
Okay.
and I in 2015, I went to the Red Centre and talked to the lawman there, and told him about what we were doing, about that we were restoring the Commonwealth, which is the people, and told him what the problem was with why the originals have the problems that they have, because they're virtually dealing with the corporate government. And the corporate government is virtually using them, or the UN is using them to virtually undermine the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And so, as I said before, there's only two empires on this earth. There's the Roman Empire and the English Empire. And, there is no third option. If we are going to come out of this corporate and back into the Commonwealth, I mean, we would be the ones that would be dealing with the originals. I've already, as trustee of the Commonwealth, they are written into the trust, and as long as and so are the New Zealanders that were offered to join the Commonwealth when it was formed. That the invitation is there to be, a part of the Commonwealth, to be able to be in it. And I've also prepared documents as Commonwealth trustee, for compensation to the tribes. Right, so under trust law and equity, I can, as trustee, I can provide remedy, and but I can't provide remedy to somebody who has not been harmed, and and by the Commonwealth itself. If they've been harmed by the corporate, I cannot compensate them for that. I can only compensate them for, maybe, that their land was taken originally, or whatever else. And I can only do that to the tribe, because there is nobody alive now that has been harmed by that. So it's a heritage thing, an inheritance thing that I would only be able to give remedy for. And I've written up documents, and they are there, and to be negotiated. And but the real thing is that we've got to get out from, before any of that can take effect, we've got to get out from underneath the corporate system to be able to do it. And we're not going to, but it doesn't matter who you are on this earth. Doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what anything. Nothing matters there is only two empires, and you've got the choice of which one that you're in. You're either under English common law and natural law, biblical law, or you're under Roman cult, corporate, Roman law, and but that's it. There's only two.
So when you sat down at the Red Centre there and explained that to the lawmen there, how did they receive that?
Yeah, he accepted that. I told him that, I said, look, the only way that because this is all about the law of nations, right? So the Commonwealth of Australia was formed under the law of nations. The law of nations is written under natural law. Right now, the Aboriginal people are 260 tribes. They are not a nation, and so they cannot deal on the national stage. Only a nation are the ones that can treaty, and they are the only ones that can do it as a nation under the law of nations. And so, the people, so, when the Aboriginal people, there's a lot of people who say that they represent the Aboriginal people. But, as I was saying, that I've got a document prepared. As trustee, I can only deal with the recognised elders of that tribe. They are the only ones that will have a voice that I can listen to. And that is dealing with them as a tribe. I can't deal with them as a nation because they are not a nation.
In the time I've spent having a yarn with the mob up this way, they claim that they're tribal nations, and I believe the number was about 369. I might be getting that wrong. That's the way they sort of put it to me. I think it might.
It's okay to say that you're a tribal nation, but where's the evidence of that?
Well, that's for them to answer, I guess. That's a bit beyond my.
Yeah, we're talking about the law of nations and what makes a nation, and you have to fit a criteria to become a nation,
right?
And it's all under natural law. It's not, under corporate law. It's natural law.
I'll leave that for them to go further on that one, because I only have a rudimentary understanding of their perspective, and it's one of those things I'm trying to.
I mean, anybody can say anything, but is it recognized? Are they actually recognized as a nation? Do they fit the criteria for a nation? Right. So if I was to go to them and say, all right, well, if I come into your nation, what are your laws? Where can I read them? Or how can I find out about your laws?
Yes.
Or, if we're going to live under Aboriginal law, which law is it going to be? There's 360 tribes.
Yeah.
What laws are we going to live under? How can I find out? I can't be ignorant of the law.
Yeah, exactly. And or considering most of it doesn't seem to have been written down.
Yeah, and who is going to decide out of these 360 tribes which law it is?
Yeah. And who's policing these 369 borders, and how do we know when we cross from one to the other? And I know that, there's some tribal people I've spoken to are just, well, we know our markers. I'm like, well, that's good. What about the rest of us? How do we know when we've transgressed another man's land? There's a great many questions I think that need to be sorted out and had a yarn there. But obviously, within those same tribes that I've spoken to, they have a prophecy of what they call Wurdagen. Now, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Where we all come together fundamentally. Black fella, white fella, dreaming was kind of how it was put to me. And I'd like to think that is something we can still work on. And you seem to sort of have at least attempted to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, and I mean, the only way that we're going to be able to come out of this corporate system is if we all unite into the Commonwealth. And then what we do from there, once the Commonwealth is restored, then they're dealing with the Commonwealth. They're not dealing with the corporate.
Yeah.
And we can, and the we're all trapped in this corporate system.
Yeah.
And by being divided into a third party is you're in nowhere land.
Yeah. And again, I guess Commonwealth, as in the wealth of the knowledge and the power of the people, doesn't necessarily have to put us under I guess the British monarchy, so to speak. It could potentially be an opportunity for an evolution of the concept, so to speak. And I guess it's something again we the people get to decide.
Yeah, so like in the Constitution, it says that we the people of the whereas the people of the New South Wales, Victoria, blah blah blah, have agreed to unite in an indissoluble federation, and under the Crown and this Constitution. Right, so it's formed under two things. It's formed under the Crown and it's formed under the Constitution. And we, the people, are the authors of the Constitution. So therefore, we, the people, are the absolute supreme authority. And we are doing this under the doctrine of self-help. Right? So if you want to rely on people to come and help you and people to do anything, then you're going to be waiting a long time. The only way that you are going to do it is if you do it yourself. And so the only way the Aboriginal people can really help themselves is to unite with us and come out of the corporate system. And things will be totally different to being slaves in the corporate system.
Agreed. I have to get
my skin name is Platypus. Have you heard the story about the animals and they all got into their tribes, and the animals had a big conference and they all decided that they're all going to go into their tribes, and the mammals went into theirs and the birds into theirs and the fish and the whatever all went into their different tribes. But there was the platypus was left out, and they all came to the platypus and said, well, you've got fur, come into our tribe. Oh, you've got a bill, come into our tribe, said the birds. Oh, you swim in water, come into our tribe, said the fish. And the platypus turns around and says, well, I have a bit of all of you, and why don't you all come and join my tribe?
I like that. He just needs to fly to bring in the birds.
Yeah. But it's the thing is, the thing is that, as I said, that there is two empires in this world, and where you have a choice, but there's only two choices. There is no third option.
Yep. Fair enough. I'll accept that for now because can't think of anything else. But the first thing that springs to mind is the concept of a Holy Trinity and the triangle and the concept of three and the knock three times and all these suggests perhaps there is a third. Don't know what it is.
Well, if there is, it's probably Shahara law or whatever you call it.
Jesus, please, no.
Yeah. So you've got a choice of either Roman law or Shahara law or English law.
Yeah, wow. I'm pretty confident.
They would be the three.
World War I's desire to break up the Ottoman Empire was probably one of the greatest things that happened to the human race. I can't imagine our futures would have been very prosperous had the Ottoman Empire continued doing what it was doing.
We're talking about the world here, and Aboriginal law, we don't even know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, like it was 369 incarnations fundamentally.
Yeah.
I mean, Rockets kind of put it down to, the simplistic concept of, just do no harm. But I think we've all
that's what common law is.
It's not that simple.
That's what common law is. Do no harm, cause no loss, and and leave your brother in peace.
Awesome. Well, I think we pretty much covered as much as we can for one particular podcast. I'm sure, once everybody's digested all this, there'll be a great many questions and we could probably revisit this again. It's a pretty complex thing. I'm looking forward to jumping in and learning a lot more about this. I've got a lot of reading to do. There's a good 700 pages worth of stuff there to have a read through. Excuse me. Jackie, did you want to nod in the background there if you'd like to come in and say something? Yep, she's nodding away. Welcome to the podcast, Jackie. You're on mute. You've got to unmute yourself there. You're on mute,
muted.
Jackie. You need to unmute. No, you've chosen to mute yourself. It's telling me. There we go. Yep, now we got you. So thanks for getting the call. No, you're all right. Thank you for getting all this going.
Look, this is the way forward for the people of the Commonwealth. This is done with honour. We are doing things the right way, and I really applaud Keith and everything he's done. I'm in with Commonwealth Custodians. This is the way we get our country back. This is a reclamation. So as Keith said, and you look at trust and equity law, this government have forfeited. They've raped and pillaged our nation, and it is time for us as adults to stand up and take our country back. That's all there is to it. And this is the way to do it. But we need every Australian, as many as possible, to come on board, come back to the true Commonwealth, get out of this corporate system, become a Commonwealth national. We are not Australian citizens. That's all there is to it. There's not even a head of power for them to create the National Citizenship Act. This entire system is nothing but deceit and fraud, and they are corporate. So this is about we, the people, taking our country back. I applaud everything Keith's done. It's the way forward for us. But as Keith said, this is up to us, we, the people. Stand up. We are in an age of maturity. Get your live birth certificates, get everything done, and let's get our country back. This government have absolutely forfeited their role as trustee, agent, administrator, and servant. They've tried to reverse the roles, and no one is going to save us. This is up to us. So I love the way Keith's a very intelligent man. Everything is being done correctly. There are too many people out there saying 70% truth, 30% not. We've got to be very secure and sure about what we are doing. So the way Keith is doing this is the way to do it. We are under the Constitution, which is the supreme written law of this land. It is recognised. And Keith has done a covenant for the people, the First Nations people as well, which I'm trying to get some feedback on that for them to put some input in as well. But I think the other important thing to recognise is that the Constitution is organic, and it's up to we, the people. We can make changes. We are the only ones that can actually have the authority to make the changes through referendum. So it's time we dismissed and got rid of this corporate government and stood up and took our country back. This is the way to do it.
Well, I think the thing I really like about this is it allows that corporate fiction to continue doing what it's doing, and those who haven't got the stomach for it, as Silvertail here has pointed out, with all due respect, Aussies don't have the stomach for this, for what's required, so they can still remain asleep. They can stay in their own.
Can. I think we're at a point.
We can still go ahead and do what we need to do. And from a spiritual point of view, it's one of those things I've seen said a lot, that there is a bifurcation sort of happening here. Those who are not ready to move on will stay where they are, and those who are can move on, and there's no reason that the two concepts can't align, and especially when you get into some of the, more out there concepts, perhaps of, other dimensions, perhaps from a certain point of view, you could see this as just a dimensional shift. We can still coexist with the rest, and they won't have any fucking clue because they just don't get it. So long as their little boxes get ticked, Officer Plod just knows that we just give this guy a warning, and that's it. And as long as you're not blowing anyone up and being a belligerent force, all should be fine.
This is the other thing. We are operating honourably. We are operating peacefully and lawfully under the Constitution. So this is a reformation, absolutely. Good on you, Mark Wayne. It is. It's a reformation and a reclamation of our nation, and we are doing it correctly in the right frequency. We are not the criminals here. We are the people of the Commonwealth who act with honour and in good conscience.
Yeah.
And we've got the All-Father behind us. Everything is done spiritually and with the Constitution as our basis, which is the recognised supreme law of this land. I do want to make clear, I see things where the Commonwealth's gone. The people are the Commonwealth.
Exactly.
We're here. And it gets it to a point where forget about trying to wake the sheep up. We can still try that, but it's time for the lions, the dragons. Let's stand up and get our country back. Everyone needs to get onto the Commonwealth Custodians site, join up, because as Keith said, we need the people. This is for us. And it is going to take for us to do it. This is for the people, by the people. So let's stand up and get some people, please. Anybody who's got good administrative skills, organisation skills, join Commonwealth Custodians. We need your help. Keith needs your help. This is, it's massive. I mean, we've got, 27 million people in this country. And we need, Commonwealth Custodians need people to put their hand up and come in and operate. If you've got skills in any sector as well, I mean, to try and, this is the thing, as the prophecies say, the people will rise and government will fall. It is collapsing now, but we have got to be prepared and ready to step up to the mark. So we need to have all of the different people in their fields. If you're great with education system, go into the education side of government. If you're great with logistics, trade and commerce, etc. I'm no good with this stuff. All the different departments of government need to be filled.
We can't leave a vacuum. When this corporate government comes down, we can't leave a vacuum. We've got to be prepared.
So people stand up, come over, join us. I applaud Keith. Thank you so much, Batty.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for making this happen, Jackie.
Yeah, I've got the absolute utmost respect for Keith. Then we're talking about trying to get some seminars happening in the different states. So we had I think we had about, how many? We had 50 to 60 up in the one we just had in Sydney. We'll try and arrange them in South Australia, Melbourne. Maybe we'll get up to you there, Batty, in Queensland as well.
For
How
sure.
big's your house?
Well, you know, it's not that big, but you know, for special people like you, I'm sure we can make something work.
Put your TP in the backyard.
Yeah, I've got a tent. You might get a bit wet in the pool though. The backyard's a pool, basically. It's
we can have it in the pool.
So, but we'll work something out. And as you were saying earlier, Keith, you haven't been up here for a bloody long time. As you know. So
No, I've been up there. I've been up there since.
Okay.
We've got custodians up that way.
Oh, nice. Well, you'll have to put me in contact with them, and we'll start building something this way. And we had Daryl, and Mike up here for a Know Your Rights thing last year, I believe it was, and that was quite successful with the work you know they did, and obviously I did to help make it all happen. It was a pretty large event, so I'm pretty confident that we can get people again motivated for this kind of a presentation as well. So that'll be something I guess we'll look forward to building in the new year.
Let's rock and roll, people. Get our country back.
That's
what this
it.
is about.
Make the Anzacs proud. Stand up and
make our Anzacs proud. Absolutely.
And in the largest military town in Australia, I think it's something that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. So we're doing this correctly. Everything has got to be done correctly, and this is what Keith's researched. We're doing it under, as I said, the Constitution, the supreme written law of this land that is organic, and it's up to us to make our changes as we go. So, you know, we are all equal, every race, creed, colour and religion. Let's just link arms, brothers and sisters, get our nation back. We start locally in Australia, and then we'll help the world.
Well, I said maybe we can, you know, set the standard for the rest of the world to see. You know,
absolutely.
Our government trying to set the standard of tyranny, and we can set the standard of freedom.
Yep.
No, stand up and take. Yeah, well, we own our freedom. This is the thing. Let's just don't comply or consent or contract with them. Know your standing, know who you are, but always peacefully and lawfully, you know, with honour and good conscience. That's how we do it, and that's what they hate, because what's been going on has been an absolute IQ test and a tolerance test. Yeah, look, as Mark Wayne said, they have raped and pillaged this nation. The wealth and equity of this nation belongs to the people. They're bankrupting us is what they're doing. We've got to get the country back. We are the sovereign beneficiaries by inherent right. This is a reclamation. It's our claim of right. So let's stand up and do it.
This corporate Commonwealth thrives on conflict, division, fear, and just by giving it all that energy, that's what makes it work. You know, we've got to redirect our energy away from the corporate. And
just muting you there, Jackie, because we're getting a bit of weird feedback coming back from your mic. So just put your finger up when you want to speak so I can unmute it, because otherwise it's just a bit, every time somebody else speaks, it's coming back through your speaker somewhere, and I can't seem to noise suppress it with the tech I've got here. So, sorry, wrong button. Go ahead, Keith. I just wanted to explain what's going on.
I was just saying, that this system thrives on all the negative energy, the fear, the division, the conflict, and by giving them any energy whatsoever, that is what makes their system run. When we take that energy away from them and direct that energy into a constructive force of restoring the Commonwealth, then the universe takes over and it all starts to come together.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So I guess we'll leave it there for now. Big thanks to Jackie for making this podcast happen. Big thanks to Keith for all the work, and I look forward to starting the new year with a little bit more of this.
Yeah, very good. Thank you
Come
very
over
much.
to Commonwealth Custodians. Ciao for now, guys.
Thank you very much.
No,
CommonwealthCustodians.org.
CommonwealthCustodians.org. All the information from tonight's show is available at the Telegram link. Just going to meet you there again, Jackie, just because that sound is bloody horrible. There's the Telegram link if you want to scan it, or you can just go to Telegram and use @NQ_freedom to get a hold of that. And all the material we've talked about is available there to make it nice and easy for you to find what you want to do. Of course, in the description, the links to a lot of this material, particularly the CommonwealthCustodians.org website, is available there as well, just to try and make things as easy as possible for you guys. But if you're still having trouble and you're just not quite sure and you prefer a different method, NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to share anything that we have discussed here today, including links and whatnot. And any questions you've got for perhaps the next time we get Keith and Jackie on to talk about these things, so start sending them through and I'll start making notes for the next show. I'm sure we'll do something in the new year at some stage. And again, if you are one of those Commonwealth custodian people here in Townsville or in the North Queensland region and you want to reach out and start putting things together, hit me up. Let's start making things happen. I'm pretty excited about this. It's pretty rare that I sort of see something and straight away go, I like this. This is one of those moments. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, by all means, let's make this happen. Thank you very much to both of you for coming on and making this podcast happen. And we'll see you all in the new year. And, of course, we've got our Christmas show. Jackie's there. Daryl will be there. Unfortunately, Darren couldn't make it. But Heidi will also be there as well. So it'll be an amazing event at 1 o'clock Queensland time, which will be 2 o'clock New South Wales and Victoria time, and all the other mob. You're just going to have to figure it out for yourselves because my brain doesn't go that far as time zones. So, come and join us on Sunday, 1 o'clock Queensland time for the Christmas show. Until then, hope you all have a great one and one final sips.